here's a simple practice, 30-minute practice for increasing range of motion and gentle stretching and opening up your body in a way that should feel really, really good. So I recommend, if you have it, a block or two, maybe two. Let's put those down there, and a blanket. So we're going to start with a very gentle twist. I'd like you to sit up on a folded blanket, maybe even two. So here's the deal. When I think of yoga, one of my signature sayings is that yoga is you. And what I mean by that is it's not your teacher's practice, it's not your neighbor's practice, it's your practice. And so we do whatever we can to get comfortable. If that means having some blocks underneath our knees, if it means sitting up on a couple folded blankets, whatever it takes, maybe 3 folded blankets. You just do whatever you can to make yourself comfortable. So take your comfortable seat, and you're just going to feel back underneath yourself for your sitting bones, and just try to pull them back and apart one at a time. So you just pull them back and a little bit wide to help you lift and sit a little bit higher. So we'll start with a breath practice just to warm up our shoulders and get some movement going. It's called sun breath. The arms sit down by the sides, they just drape easily. You find your strong sitting posture, so that means the spine is long and tall. The chin drops back and in so that you can feel the crown of the head lengthening. And as we inhale, the palms flip out and we just sweep the arms up overhead. If we can, the palms touch. If they can't, having them shoulder wide width is just enough, good enough. If they touch, or even if they don't, the hands come to prayer and come straight down the center line of the body on the exhale. The hands drape down by the sides, and we begin again. Inhaling, 5 counts. 3, 4, 5. Take a little pause, squeeze and lengthen. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take a small pause and feel the weight of your body dropping. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Squeeze and lengthen. Pause and hold the breath. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pause. Feel the weight of the hips dropping down. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold the breath. Squeeze and lengthen like you're just an arrow. And then exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attempting to arrive with the breath. Pause, let the hips get heavy. Inhale, 1. Pause, hold the breath, squeeze, lengthen, exhale, 5. Pause, feel the weight of your hips. Inhale, 1. Pause, squeeze, lengthen, exhale, 5. Feel the weight of the hips. Pause, inhale, 1. Squeeze and lengthen, hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let the hands come up into prayer. Keep your eyes closed. Take a moment to find a heartfelt offering for your practice today. It can be anything, body, mind, or spirit. And as we get clarity on what we want that offering to be today, we offer that with a bow. Good. Inhale, come on up. Take your hands behind you. Fingertips are on the floor behind you, and just lift the heart. As you do, extend the legs out in front of you. Give a little wiggle. Just wiggle those legs in and out. And take another breath or two. You're going to bring the legs back into the crossing, but in the opposite direction. Okay, and this time this is where the blocks come in handy. So you're going to place the blocks on either side of your hips. You'll take your left hand and place it on the left-sided block. You'll inhale your right arm up overhead, and then just stretch as if you're stretching from the right hip through the right fingers. So that means that the right hip drops. It drops down to the floor. We just let it go. From inside the body, let go of any holding. And then exhale, you shrug the right shoulder as if you're trying to shrug it towards your ear. One more breath, you're reaching into that space where the wall and the ceiling meet. Couple more breaths. And you use that same count as the sun breath. Inhaling 5 and exhaling 5. Beautiful. Inhale, come all the way up. Take a pause, just noticing the difference between the left and right sides of your body. Inhale deeply. Exhale completely. Let's do second side. So right hand on the block, left arm sweeps up. And then let your mind move into the inner hip there and just drop it down. See if you can feel what that would feel like to drop it down. Shrugging the shoulder, reaching, inhaling for 5. Exhaling for 5. You're reaching into that place where the wall and the ceiling meet. Inhaling for 5. Exhaling for 5. Inhale, come on up. Take a cleansing breath. Just roll the shoulders around. All right, little spinal twist. Moving your right hand to your left knee. Just gently pick up that knee a little bit. In other words, it doesn't need to hang down. You just pick it up. Okay, and then from there you just lengthen. It's like someone had, a little hook at the crown of the head and they were reaching it up like that. And you're just getting taller and taller and taller. On your next exhale, see if you can feel the weight of the hips dropping down. Inhale, lengthen. Here's that 5 count breath. And exhale, hang, drop, get heavy into the hips. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, descend. Beautiful. Inhale to gently come out of that twist. Take a cleansing breath, roll the shoulders. Second side. We reach the left hand across, gently pick up the knee a little bit. The left hand, or the right hand, can go behind you on the floor, the blanket, or even on a block if you need that. And you inhale, lengthen through the crown. Exhale, just drop the weight of the hips to the floor. Feel that twist happening naturally. Inhaling, 5. Exhaling, 5. See if you can picture as you're inhaling for 5, the length of the spine on all 4 sides. Front, back, left, and right. Exhale for 5. Beautiful. Release all your props off to the side. You're going to come onto your back. And those props there. All right, coming onto your back. Feet flat on the floor, knees lifted. Now, you might notice for me, because I can do this, my chin and my forehead are almost in the same plane. If that's not true for you, if the chin is lifted way up because your upper back is tight, then you need to take one of your blankets that you're just sitting on, if you were, and you place it underneath your head. Now for me, that lifts me up too much, so I'm going to get rid of that blanket for now. Just drop it off to the side, and I'm going to lie down here on the floor. So remember, yoga is you. You make sure it works for you. Inhale, I want you to feel the left hip, the right hip, the backbone. They're kind of flat. Feel those flat planes on the back on the mat. And the left shoulder. The shoulder blade has a flat plane. At least ideally, sometimes we won't feel that flatness on the floor, but we want to work for that. And the right shoulder. So you got 4 points. Inhale deeply. As you exhale, bring your left knee into the chest. Hug it. And next time you inhale, the feet will flex and the right leg will extend out. And think of your body more as an arrow than a bow. So if it wants to do a little bowing here, bring the abdominals in. On the inhale, We bring the left knee into the chest, and as we exhale, we extend the right heel away. So inhale, hug. Exhale, extend. Few more breaths just like that. Inhaling, hug. Exhale, extend. Good, we're going to do a jump switch. That means we just bring that right knee in and we extend the left leg out. Inhale, hug. Exhale, left heel extends. Inhale, right leg hugs. Exhale, left heel extends. One more. Inhale, hug, right leg. Exhale, extend left leg. Beautiful. Bring them both up again. Have one hand on each of your knees and just do opposite circles. So you move your legs towards you and away and then back and around. Just warming up those hip joints. And you might notice as you do this, you get a gentle little cat-cow movement with the lumbar spine. This is a lovely thing. It's really good for you to both have access to both the cat and the cow tilt. Let's go the other way. So the knees go straight down the midline and then open and come around back together. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. One more. Inhale and exhale. Beautiful. Place your feet on the floor. Walk them wide until they get almost as wide as your sticky mat. Take your arms out in T, so they're just right straight out from your chest. As you inhale, drop your knees to the left, both of them. This is called windshield wiper, and you think of your knees as just, or your whole shins there as windshield wipers. So inhale here. As you exhale, the belly pulls back and the knees lift up. Inhale, take the knees to the right. Exhale, pull the knees back up, belly to the spine. Inhale, knees to the left. And think of your 5-count breath here. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep going just like that, like really slowly and quietly and calmly. And let the breath and the movement start to link together so they become this beautiful mind-body action. One more each direction. Beautiful. From here, step your right foot a little more towards the center of the mat. Take your left ankle and glue it to your right knee. So your left knee is going to fall out to the side. Now if I were just to push with my left hand onto that left knee, I would notice that the right side of my body pops up off the floor. I don't really want that because that puts a twist in my spine. I want my spine to be pretty neutral. So I'm going to bring those two flat, bony hips on the floor so you feel those broad bones there. And as I press that left knee forward, I keep my hips square. And I just feel where the stretch belongs. Now, if this is enough for you, it's enough for you. If you feel like you could use a little bit more, you take your hands and swing them through the window of your legs until they encircle around your right thigh. And you take a big deep breath there. And you see how that feels. Again, attempting to be square on the backs of the hips. Now, there'll be some of you where even this feels too easy. If that's true, then you keep going with your hands until they're around the shin. And you can let that right heel drop towards your right booty. Then I want you to see if you can create a little more lumbar curve. Like that means create a little space for a little mouse to run underneath your lumbar spine. So you're tilting the hip points towards the thighs. Couple more breaths. Being happy and satisfied with where you are in your own practice. It's your body unfolding. If you continue to do this practice with discipline and devotion, in a year your body will be completely different. It takes time and discipline. Exhale gently, slowly release out of that pose. Good. Just hug that left knee into the chest, hug it close, and extend the foot towards the sky. Now, it doesn't matter if you can straighten the leg, but I want you to encircle your hands. I'm interlacing my fingers behind that left thigh, and then I just start to tilt my hip points, those front hip points forward. So I get a little lumbar curve, just enough for a mouse to run through. And I feel those two back of the hips. They're just broad bones. And if that works for me, keeping all that, I can start to straighten that left leg. But if it makes me flatten my back on the floor, then I've gone too far. I'm trying to rehearse optimal alignment for my body, and I'm feeling a stretch through the hamstring. If I flex that foot with a lot of attention and energy, I'm going to feel it in my calf too. 1 or 2 more breaths here, just appreciating that stretch. And then we're going to imagine that our foot is going to clean out underside of the rim of a paint can. So you really take your time, you're using your toes and your foot, and you're trying to get every little bit of paint from the underside of that rim. You just keep going around, you can articulate your toes. And you breathe. There's that 5 count breath, or maybe it moves down to 3 if you're a little bit more needing a little bit more oxygen. Go the other way. Get that rim cleaned out. And if you feel achiness around the shin, this is good. You're creating muscle tone. Good. And then bring that down, and I want you to just shake it out. Like really get a lot of action here. We're getting that lymphatic flow to come down. We've got a little inversion here, and we're creating some lymphatic movement, which is really good for us. You're going to drop that foot to the floor and just take a moment to feel amazingly how different you are left and right. Acknowledge that. Breathe into that. And then we're going to switch sides, everything on the second side. So the left foot goes more towards the center of the mat. The right ankle glues to the top of the right knee there. And then we just notice, am I dipping off to the right? So if I take my right hand and press it on my right knee, am I dipping off to the right, or am I staying pretty centralized? You want to take a moment to feel that little mouse hole, that little space. You could take a hand and put it underneath the lumbar spine, almost, maybe not quite, depending on you. The abdominals are awake and active, and you're breathing. One more breath here. Think of that 5 count breath, working towards lengthening and deepening the breath. Beautiful. If this feels like you're ready to move on, you take your hands and interlace them around the thigh. If that was enough for you, stay there and just appreciate the breath. And again, you want that little bitty mouse hole under the lumbar spine, lumbar curve. The belly is active, it's awake, so that you feel supported around the spine. And if that feels like not enough for you and you need a little bit more, you reach all the way around the shin. Just make sure you're not flattening out the back, that you can keep that little lift. The heel can come towards the booty there. And as much as you're lifting that lumbar spine, pull the abdominals in and up. Breathe deeply and fully. Let's take one more breath. Big deep breath in. Full breath out. Always come out of the poses really slowly so you get no rebound. And then go ahead and stretch that right leg towards the sky. Remember, it doesn't matter how straight it is. If we sacrifice alignment for stretch, in the long run we get into trouble. So find that lumbar curve, that even weight on the back of those big bones of the hips. And then from there you move towards straight, depending on what your body can do. And if you flex the foot strongly, you'll get a calf stretch too. So it just depends on what you want. If that's too much, point the foot. If you can take a little more intensity, flex the foot strongly and breathe. Imagine that you're breathing space into your body. Like that's what stretching is doing. It's just creating this beautiful sense of expansion. An in-breath is always wide. The out-breath, there can be some contraction, but then you breathe in. So it creates this nice resiliency in the muscle, the ability of the body to breathe, not just in your lungs, but in all of your tissues. One more breath here. And then as you're ready, you start cleaning out that underside rim of the paint can. And just for fun, add a color. I think colors are really good for the brain to imagine. So if you need more passion in your life, you might visualize the color red. If you need more power, maybe yellow. If you need more healing, maybe indigo, blue. If you love nature, maybe green. Just get in there. Let's go the other way to really clean out that whole inner rim. Oh, I feel so achy when I do this, right up in through the shin. And then I say, hallelujah. I'm working my muscles, creating infrastructure for my body. Beautiful. Go ahead and release that. Oh wait, we forgot to shake. So shake it out. Get that lymphatic movement, so good for immunity. If you want, you can even add both legs and both arms and maybe even your voice. Get lots of movement there. All right, drop everything to the floor. Boom. Okay. I'm gonna come on up to sitting. So I'll have you roll to your side and gently push up so your head comes up last. And now if you have a bolster, bring it. Many of us don't. So a bolster looks like this big guy, but since many of us don't have bolsters, it's gonna just throw that over to the side. It's easy to make your own. So the way you make your own is if you have 2 blankets, you take the first blanket like we call this a pillow fold because it's almost the size of a pillow. You put that on the ground and then you roll it up. So that I call this a burrito roll. You make a little burrito roll. And then you take your second pillow fold. So you might take a minute. You could pause this video if you need to make your second pillow fold. And then you take that little burrito roll you just made and you put it on your second pillow fold. So now you're gonna roll and look at, voila, you have a bolster. So you're gonna place that in the center of, not quite the center of the mat, a little closer to the feet end. I guess I just flipped around. So hopefully that works for you. You're gonna place that bolster underneath your knees. So this next stretch is Paschimottanasana. It's forward fold. And because so many of us are tight, this is where blocks come in very handy. You can take one block and place it in between your shins. And I'm going to take my shins and I'm going to squeeze that block a little bit. My toes are pointed straight up. And then I just gently reach back and pull my sitting bones back and apart. The second block is here as a tower. So I'm going to place that block on top of the other. You'll notice I'm holding it gently. And I'm just going to place my forehead. Now, that doesn't feel so comfortable for me, so I'm going to play around and see if I can make a little of an angle here to this top block so that my forehead feels better. I'm a bit stretchy, so I can reach my big toes. My peace fingers are just encircled around my big toes, and here I am, just resting and letting the body stretch naturally. And sometimes you'll notice after you've been here for a few moments or minutes, and my blocks tumble, you can try to create a different tower with your blocks so that you can get a little farther, but you don't have to go super far. You really want to just go far enough you start to get a little stretch because we're going to be here for a few minutes. So you want to be supported in such a way that you can stay long enough for the fascia in the body to open. And I always love to remind people that the back fascial plane runs the whole length of the back body. actually starts or ends, depending on your perspective, in your eyebrows. And it runs up the crown, down the back of the head, the back of the neck, all the way down the back, underneath the legs, all the way through calves and Achilles, underneath the feet, and inserts into the toes. So you can see that you've got a big stretch here. It's no wonder that this is such a challenging stretch for so many people. But you just rest here and you go back to your breath, that inhaling for 5 and exhaling for 5. You could put a little pause at either end and wait for the diaphragm to turn around. It doesn't really turn around, but it feels like it to me, so I like to say that. So as you inhale, you wait, you pause at the top, and there's a little shift and change in that diaphragm as it gets ready to move in the opposite direction. So on the inhale, the diaphragm actually drops to create a vacuum for the air to come into the lungs. You might try watching that idea. And as you exhale, the diaphragm softens and lifts back up, almost like maybe a jellyfish or something. If this gets to be too much, maybe you've challenged yourself too much and you needed a bigger block tower. And you could do many other things. You could stack your hands to make it higher, or make fists with your hands to come up higher. So just make it work for your body. This is your healing practice. I remember early on in my yoga journey when somebody told me that, well, it's a healing practice. And to me, it was like an eye-opener. I was like, oh yeah. So if it's a healing practice, I do it with myself in mind. Where do I need healing? Where do I need shift and change? And how can I gear my practice towards my own self, and what, could use some healing? Couple more breaths. Beautiful. From here, just take your hands and bring them to your knees and gently look forward. Let the heart lift a bit and come on up to sitting. We're going to do our final pose. We're going to do a stretch for our hips, for our digestion, for it's a little bitty back bend. This pose is called Supta Baddha Konasana. So I'm turning the bolster that I made so that it's in line with the mat. And then maybe I have a pillow or a block or something extra to place for my head. Maybe this would be another folded up blanket or a block. I'm going to grab these bigger blocks behind me just because I happen to have 4 and I like them to be even. So these are bigger than the other ones. But I'm going to take these blocks and put them out to the side. And then I turn so that my back is against this bolster that I've made. And I take these blocks that I set out and I'm going to put them underneath my knees as I bring the soles of the feet together. Baddha Konasana is cobbler pose. This is how the cobbler used to fix shoes. He'd hold them with his feet and then he'd have his hands to work with. So you've got your feet as if they're holding a shoe, and then you lean on back onto your bolster, and here's your block behind you, or maybe a little pillow. And if you feel tightness in your back, lift your hips up off the floor, scoop your tailbone under, and then rest your hips back down until you feel comfortable. If it feels so provocative that you can't rest, then the whole pose, the whole reason for the pose has been destroyed, because we want this pose to be restful and helpful and healing. So futz around if you need to. Get yourself comfortable. Arms are out in T, or they could be like an A or an upside down V position. Just make it for you so that you get openness across the chest. We're opening the digestive channel. So in Chinese medicine, the digestive channel goes through the belly and on the inner legs there, all the way down, I'm pretty sure, to the inner ankles. So you're just opening that up. You're stretching the belly. This is also a back bend. We know back bends are mood lifters. We say heart openers and mood lifters. They bring us energy. So this is a great pose. And again, you want to be here for, gosh, you could be here for 5, 7, maybe 10 minutes if it's comfortable for you. Don't forget your breath practice. And don't forget to stay warm. So if you need another blanket over your chest, you'll learn over time which props you need, how many blocks, how many bolsters, how many blankets. Can you let yourself deeply rest here? Can you let your body just trust that everything that's holding you up is really there? And you can feel it. You can feel it underneath your body. And just breathe into there and feel that deep resting. This is a great pose to practice after a big meal or before a big meal, either prepping you for digestion or aiding you following digestion. Let your breath be like a wave. You know, when you're by a seashore that has a little bit of rockiness to the beach and you can hear the waves coming in on the sand. And then the waves gently move back out into that big ocean. So you can imagine the ocean being the whole planet, everything that's on the planet. And you can think of the waves as like the lungs of the planet. And you sitting on the shore, you're receiving that action, like you're part of the giant lung, you're joining that action. As the tide comes into shore, that's the inhale. As the tide moves back out into the ocean, that's the exhale. And as you continue to breathe, just appreciate how you're part of that pulsation. You're part of that life force and that energy. There's a reason you're here on the planet. The planet needed you for this moment in time to add to that beautiful giant pulsation. Feel yourself a part of that, breathing in and breathing out. And there's a sense of receiving and a sense of giving. Feel free to stay in this pose as long as you'd like. I like to add one more thing before I finish. I do little snow angel-like movement with my arms, sweeping my arms overhead till I grab my opposite elbow. And then I just let the weight of the whole upper arm bone descend from shoulder to elbow, dropping the weight down. Letting the abdominals soften down into the body, letting the hips get heavy. And again, if that feels good, you can stay there for a few more minutes or breaths. And then you're just going to switch your elbows so you do the opposite grab. And again, letting the front body, that includes belly, ribs, and sternum, to drop down onto back body. Upper arms from shoulder to elbow descend. One more breath, unless you feel like staying here for a little bit longer. If you're ready to move, reverse snow angel. Bring your hands underneath your thighs and gently lift your knees up together. I'm going to move my blocks off to the side. You might want to do that too to create some space. And then you're very gently going to scoot down a bit and then roll to your side. So you can just use your hands to support you. You let the head drape down and you roll yourself back up to sitting. And if you'd like to just scoot yourself back onto that bolster, we'll take a moment just to close our practice with a nice little cross-legged, hands in namaste, just taking a moment to ponder, to feel, to see the shifts and changes in body, mind, and spirit, and to give thanks for the practice. Namaste.